السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح.
إن الحمد لله نحمده تعالى ونشكره ونستعين به ونسترشده ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فهو المهتد ومن يضلل فلن تجد له وليا مرشدا. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، أرسل رسوله بالهدى ودين الحق ليظهره على الدين كله ولو كره المشركون. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا ونبينا وحبيبنا وقائدنا ومرشدنا وحجتنا وشفيعنا محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين وصحبه أجمعين ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد، فإن أصدق الحديث كلام الله، وخير الهدي هدي محمد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم، وشر الأمور محدثاتها، وكل محدثة بدعة، وكل بدعة ضلالة. عباد الله، أوصيكم ونفسي بتقوى الله وطاعته، وأحثكم على التمسك بهدي قرآنه وسنة نبيه. فقد قال الله جل من قائل: أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم، بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء، واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم، ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. صدق الله العظيم. My dear brothers and sisters, today's khutbah is dedicated to the young people who are going through their life journey currently under tremendous pressure. And as I mentioned before, that some of them are falling under the weight of the challenges, and a few of them have expressed their doubts about their deen. And I want to dedicate what I'm going to mention today to such young people so that they can reclaim some comfort, so that they can feel strong again about their Islamic identity and about their Islamic faith. 90 years ago, in 1930, the minister in charge of French colonies by the name of Lacoste wanted to show the French media and the other politicians in France and all over the world wanted to show the success of the French example in their colonies all over the world, and especially in a colony that they have captured for then 100 years, Algeria. What he has been preparing is that his staff took 10 young Algerian girls and put them through the French educational curriculum, French upbringing, French ideals, French in everything. They taught them the French language and did not allow them to learn Arabic, the original language, and Barbary as well of Algeria. Just French. Everything is French. French food, French clothes, French everything. And he prepared a big graduation ceremony for those 10 successful examples of how you can acculturate, how you can assimilate people, any people, into your culture if you so wish. And he did not realize that even though those girls were prepared and were told when and how they will come onto the stage, when the moment came, those 10 girls came one after the other in front of people, dressed in their traditional Islamic Algerian attire with their hijab on. And everyone, the media, politicians, pointed fingers at Lacoste. And for quite some time in France, they were blaming him for the failure of what he claimed to be success. But he said something that is still resonating until now. Very famous statement. He said, "What could I do if those people, that is Muslims, have the Quran?" That's what he said. What could I do? Something similar was mentioned by Churchill, Winston Churchill, a few years after that, when he stood in the British Parliament and he held a copy of the Quran in his hand and said to all the parliamentarians, he said, "Until and unless we get rid of this book, we will not be able to dominate Muslims." These are historical statements that are not dramatized. These are statements that happened, and I want to move fast forward into the future, actually to the beginning of last week. In France, the French president, Emmanuel Macron, gave a speech. And in his speech, he said something very dangerous. Very dangerous to the point that he did not worry about the sensitivities of what his words will create, about the feelings of 1.8 billion people on planet Earth, the Muslims. He said Islam, he didn't say Muslims, he said Islam is showing signs of weakening in the face of major crises. In other words, Islam is proving to be a failure. Islam. And he did not pay attention to what people are going to say. He said it in no uncertain terms that this is what is happening to Islam now. Few days after that speech. Few days after that speech. And actually, I tried to work out the timing as I was standing giving the khutbah at the same time in Paris. A French old captive, and I say old because she is 75 years of age. She had been captured in Mali for the last 4 years, since December 24th, 2016. She was released, and Macron wanted to gain a few political points because he wanted to take credit that he was instrumental in freeing the last French captive to be held on foreign soil. And he was so excited, he prepared a speech, another speech, to be delivered at the airport during the ceremonies of welcoming that French citizen. وَيَمْكُرُونَ وَيَمْكُرُ اللَّهُ وَاللَّهُ خَيْرُ الْمَاكِرِينَ. Sophie Petronan, that is her name. Sophie Petronan came down the steps from the plane that was sent especially to bring her to France. And the president, with a smile on his face, he said, "Welcome Sophie back home." She did not wait to explain to him. She looked at him and she said, "I used to be Sophie. Now my name is Maryam and I am a Muslim." He was taken by surprise and he didn't know what to say or do, because now his speech is no good. His speech cannot be delivered anymore. He did not know what to say. She said, "May I now go and greet my family?" He said, "Go ahead." And she did. And then they went inside and they started to talk, and she explained to him. And she told him that through the 4 years of my captivity, I did not see anything from my captors except showing the manners of Islam. They treated me with dignity. They respected my privacy. They were so kind that I learned what spirituality was all about from the way they prayed, from the way they interacted with each other, the way they interacted with me. I learned a practical lesson that I never knew before, And you know something? Sophie Petronan, when she originally went to Mali, she went as a Christian missionary, accompanied by an Italian missionary. And they were working through an agency to help poor children of Mali. And by the way, more than half of the population of Mali lives under poverty line. Mali is one of the poorest countries in the world, and she gave up the luxuries of living in advanced France to live in those conditions for that purpose of inviting people to Christ as she understood it in her Christian faith, only for her to be moved. ربما يود الذين كفروا لو كانوا مسلمين, as we read in Surah Al-Hijr, that perhaps you will see examples of how people who rejected faith would wish that they become among the faithful. And that's what happened to Sophie. And before her, there was a very famous journalist by the name of Yvonne Ridley, a British journalist who was captured in Afghanistan as she was covering the war in Afghanistan. And during her captivity, she embraced Islam. Also, there was another woman who was covering the events in Somalia by the name of Sylvia Romano, and she embraced Islam. And there were many examples of how very learned, educated, intelligent people who are entering into the fold of Islam despite all the challenges pointing in the other direction, all the challenges of Islamophobia, all the challenges of the troubles. Yes, I would have agreed with Emmanuel Macron had he said there's a crisis or crises among Muslims. But to say within Islam, I would say that Allah deals with Islam, but for Muslims, they have to deal with their own crises. They have to deal with their own crises, and there are millions of them, because they have gone far from the real Islam. You know, I want to tell you one other story of a very learned, still alive. He's 91 years old. His name was Robert Crane. And you may say, you said he's still alive, 91 years old. Why did you say his name was? Why didn't you say his name is Robert Crane? Because his name now is Farouk Abdul Haq. Robert Crane was in the government, inner government of President Nixon. And President Nixon of the United States wanted to know about Islam. So he commissioned the CIA, Central Intelligence Agency, to put a report about Islam that he could read to learn more. But they gave him a huge volume of information. He said, I can't read that, I don't have the time for that. So he looked at Robert Crane, who, by the way, was a PhD in international law, PhD in public law. He was the president of Harvard University Society of International Law. He was the deputy director of the National Security Council during the time of Richard Nixon. He was so many, his CV reads a lot. So he gave it to Robert Crane and he said, can you summarize it for me? So to do that, Robert Crane had to study and to attend workshops and seminars, and during that, he embraced Islam. He couldn't say no to his heart and brain when they connected together. He embraced Islam. and he became Farouk Abdul Haq. He's still alive until today. One time, he was in a debate with a law professor who was specialized in the law of inheritance in the United States. He said to him, "Can you please tell me about the law of inheritance of the United States?" He said, "Well, it's huge." And he brought him 8 volumes, huge volumes. He said, "How would you believe if I tell you that in Islam there are only 10 lines only that give to every person you can think of their rightful inheritance? Just 10 lines." And when he gave him the 10 lines, and in analyzing them and all of that, he said, "That is impossible." That professor as well entered the fold of Islam, because يريدون ليطفئوا نور الله بأفواههم والله متم نوره ولو كره المشركون. ولو كره المشركون. Many people think that they can extinguish the light of Allah by just speaking, by just being articulate. But Allah sure will make His light spread despite the dislike of people who have no faith. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله العظيم لي ولكم فيا فوز المستغفرين. Make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He will accept our dua. Ameen ya Rabbil Alameen. الحمد لله وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. By the way, Maryam Petronan is telling everybody now, I didn't want to leave Mali, but the French government put pressure on me because they wanted to show that they were able to do something. And she said, I'm coming to France only for the purpose of inviting my family, of inviting all the people I love to Islam, and then I'm going back to Mali. This is Islam. This is Islam. We have with us many Muslims in our community who accepted Islam even at an old age. Last Saturday on the program Let the Quran Speak, our brother Michael Kirby, who is also in his 70s, talked about his journey to Islam, how he accepted Islam. And there are many people all over the world. So I want to say to the young people who are now looking around them and they are losing hope, they are losing their attachment to their identity, I tell them Islam is strong. And Islam wants you to look into it. If you have any doubt, talk to people who could help you, but don't let the pressures force you down. This is our deen, and we are proud of it. That is why I tell you, older people, parents, look me in the eye and say, yes, we will do something next Sunday, the 25th of October. Not this Sunday, but the Sunday after. The 25th of October, I mentioned it before. This is your chance that through fun, because kids love to have fun, come with them and be part of the Muslim Fest and let them feel that yes, we can still have the voice of nasheed, the voice of culture, the voice of our deen reach all over London. And I told you that this is making history because it's the first time outside of the GTA. Don't say, well, I didn't have time. Allah will ask you, you didn't have time for your children. كلكم راع. All of you are responsible for those under your care. Don't miss it. Some of you still did not register. and you have the email. There's no excuse. Make sure you are part of this Muslim Fest, which we are working, together through our president and the other staff at the center and the staff of the Muslim Fest to bring it and make sure that we are not going to go. And I want, now announcement number 2, please be careful and don't spread the false rumors now. I became aware 2 days ago that there is a rumor, a statement written that the government of Canada is preparing isolation centers in secret, and come November such and such, and then December such and such, and February 2021 there will be COVID-21, and that virus is not going to be treatable, and people are going to... this is totally irresponsible. Totally irresponsible. That made me very sad and angry at the same time. We will go through this together. Don't just spread rumors. When I give a khutbah, I mean it. 6 weeks ago, I talked about the dangers of spreading rumors. Do you remember that? Yet there are still people who are spreading rumors. Don't do that. And I want to say one thing, 2 things actually, before we will pray. I was told, I don't leave with you, I go back to my office to prepare for the second khutbah. But I was told that as people are leaving, all the precautions we are maintaining inside are totally forgotten. Many people are standing together. Some people were even seen hugging each other, shaking hands, standing together. That will defeat the purpose. Please, as you leave right away to your cars, please, brothers, please, sisters, don't talk to each other. This is one. Another thing, brothers and sisters, we have to be careful about, when we come, that we are here on time. I want to stress that again, that we are here on time. Many are being late. We want to come here as early as possible and then leave without praying sunnah or nafil or any of that. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم وبارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم اغفر لنا ذنوبنا وخطايانا وإسرافنا في أمرنا وكفر عنا سيئاتنا. اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه. اللهم علمنا من ديننا ما جهلنا وذكرنا منه ما نسينا وكن معنا ولا تكن علينا. عباد الله، إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. اذكروا الله العظيم يذكركم وادعوه يستجب لكم ولذكر الله أكبر. One thing before the Iqamah, I just remembered that very few complained about keeping their mask as they are sitting here, because they said we have heart condition, we are diabetic, we are hypertensive, we have high blood pressure, we cannot keep it on. Brothers, if you have these conditions and cannot keep it on, wallahi, I don't have to say wallahi, but I tell you, you will get the ajr, the reward of Salat al-Jumu'ah while you are at home. But you've got to put it because you are able to put it. If you can't, don't come until such a time when it is safe. Jazakumullah khair.
الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر إلا الله